Animal cruelty is a violent crime that needs to be taken seriously. The Humane Society of the United States urges you to support laws to end animal cruelty in your state. Every day, someone who is abusing animals is probably also abusing humans. Make the connection. Animal cruelty hurts everyone. Is there proof that there's a connection between animal cruelty and human violence?
We are a society immersed in, consumed by violence.
For over 20 years, Dr. Randall Lockwood has studied the connections between animal cruelty and other forms of violence.
Animal cruelty can be part of a continuing cycle of violence within a family. Children whose animals are abused as a way of intimidating them may become animal abusers themselves and may grow up to be child abusers or other violent criminals.
Studies show that violent criminals frequently have childhood histories of serious and repeated animal cruelty. The FBI has used this correlation for years in profiling serial killers.
If you let them continue to start killing animals, eventually they're going to have this tolerance built up inside of them where a death means nothing.
Although our first realization of the connections between serious crime and violence towards animals came from studies of serial killers and mass murderers, I think we were beginning to realize that the far more prevalent perpetrators of violence, domestic violence perpetrators, or even just random acts of violence in the street, often also have the same kind of early association.
One study of 38 women seeking protection from domestic violence found 71% reported their partner had threatened, hurt, or killed their pet.
When he ran over my puppies, that was it. That's when I decided, and I had said, I've had enough. I can't go on. I'm tired. Please, do what you have to do, because probably dying is a lot better than what I'm going through.
In another study of 53 families, researchers found in child abuse cases, 88% of the pets were also abused.
Pets are part of the family in the majority of American families.
Hold on real good. Take her for a walk.
And often they play a role just like other family members. If that family is functioning well and is happy and healthy, pets can be part of that. But if that family is dysfunctional, animals are often victims, and often the first visible victims.
What is animal cruelty?
Animal cruelty is many things. It is neglect, it is intentional harm, and it is the malicious killing of animals.
Last week you heard what happened to these dogs, a mother dog and her 2 pups, tortured, wires tightly wrapped around their mouths.
You can see her scars are going to be permanent for the rest of her life.
Investigators believe someone actually used a knife or another sharp instrument to cut the horses in their genital area. Both Maya and Wacha were stabbed several times.
It's terrible to think that someone has the ability to inflict that kind of injury on an animal. They're so helpless and trusting of humans.
Every day in this country, animals are victims.
What we all know is that we see the faces of abuse, whether it is of animals or of humans. And what I know is that you all care.
People working in animal shelters and humane societies see firsthand some of the tragic results.
Someone had taken probably blunt scissors or an object and cut her ears off close to her skull and also cut her tail off. She had contusions to her lungs, presumably where someone had held her down with force. It has been months and months of rehabilitating this animal. She is one of the most wonderful creatures we have ever seen.
There was public outcry for a stiff sentence, but due to a lack of evidence, the men accused of abusing Penny were never prosecuted.
How can this violence be prevented?
I know, and I'll acknowledge, that animal abuse cases weren't always taken real seriously, maybe with the exception of the animal control officers. I don't think the rest of law enforcement really viewed them as a top priority.
If society sees animal cruelty as something they want stopped, well then the law should group that crime in with other stronger laws.
Responding to cruelty to animals, or even better, preventing cruelty to animals through humane education beginning very early on, is one of our best tools for preventing violence and delinquency.
The Shiloh Project is an intervention program that works with at-risk youth. Their mission is to break the cycle of violence. By having the students care for homeless dogs, project coordinators hope to instill in the teams a sense of compassion, respect, and responsibility towards animals and others.
I do see a change in their being okay with emotions. I mean, they're more affectionate with the dogs, and they seemed a lot better about talking about that stuff, and that it was okay to feel compassion and emotion for this animal.
If I could create a friend, someone who would be there to the end, through sickness and health, till death does us part. I love my friend with all my heart. A lifelong companion whose devotion is as big as the Grand Canyon. A friend who can see through the thickest fog. If I could create a friend, I'd create a dog. And
these are some hard guys. These are some guys that have committed some real serious crimes and have been involved in some groups and gangs that don't exactly encourage a whole lot of emotional expression. And for them to be exposed to that in this setting has just been extraordinary. It's been great.
How we treat animals is reflected in how we treat one another.
People begin to recognize the connection between animal cruelty and human violence at workshops like this one that bring together family crisis workers, health officials, community leaders, law enforcement, and many others to help end the cycle of abuse.
My awareness is much different leaving the conference today than it was prior. Even when I got the notice of the conference, I think I had an increased awareness already that, wow, this is really, there's a link here.
Our basic message has been that violence is violence, and that perpetrators often are not making a distinction between their victims. And the solution within an individual community is to get everybody who's working to combat violence in that community to at least be talking to each other, sharing resources, sharing information.
But I can tell you things are changing. You know, they're certainly changing in our office. And, you know, it took some cases, some pretty drastic cases, to open our eyes. And it took a lot of publicity on some of these cases, I think, to open the community's eyes. And I think now that they've been opened, now's the time to strike.
First Strike is a campaign developed by the Humane Society of the United States to increase public awareness about the connection between animal cruelty and human violence. This multi-year commitment by the HSUS is designed to assist victims immediately by helping communities and anti-violence agencies develop a quick response plan to incidents of animal cruelty and human violence, create a nationwide monitoring system of animal cruelty, and promote a standardization of reporting and tracking, to assist legislators and activists who wish to enact and strengthen anti-cruelty laws, work with law enforcement agencies, healthcare workers, humane societies, and others on the front line about the connection, and continue to promote humane education with our children. To learn more about the First Strike campaign, call toll-free at 1-888-213-0956 or contact the Humane Society of the United States.